Well, the first step is to jack up your bike. Alright, today is Mark IV day. Now what we're going to sort out, hopefully, is this wobble in the wheel, which is so dangerous. What we're going to do is get the wheel off, try and reseat the cone and bearings, and sort out that wobble. So I was umming and ahhing whether or not to change the tyre. Look at how close I came to a puncture. Like, you cannot get closer than that. So I think we're going to go ahead and remove this tyre that's done well over 800 kilometers, and we'll replace it with one of the chunky ones. But what we've got to do here is, you can see how much movement. Easier to show you like that. So loose cone, most likely on the coaster brake side. So we're gonna try and tighten that up now. Right, so just gently holding the wheel in the vise, I was able to tighten up the cone there. Now it's probably a little bit tight, but there's no lateral movement in the axle anymore, which is good. I did bend the dust cover when I was putting it on, so that's probably the resistance I'm feeling there. So before I go ahead and put this wheel on, we're going to change the tyre over to the chunky one I've got on the old Mark I wheel. So I didn't film that whole process. I've still got to reattach the coaster brake arm, but I've gone ahead and tightened it. Now I actually had to make an adjustment with the wheel on the rim, on the frame I mean, but there's not, that's just the tyre bending because there's not a lot of pressure in there. But that's not rattling like it was. I could do that and the frame wouldn't move, put it that way. So I'm going to go ahead and reattach that, pop our chain on. We're just about ready to start the engine up, and we'll pop the wheel in the air and give it a bit of a rev, and let's see if we hold together. So there is a significant wobble in that wheel. I am going to ride it like that. We'll see how we go. That might settle itself in. We'll just ride it until it breaks, I guess, and then we'll worry about it then. Alright, that back wheel is no longer wobbling around like it was. As I was riding, I did feel it skipping teeth once or twice. That is just because there is a bit of a wobble in that wheel. Now this bike, this has been my favourite bike since the beginning. It's the one I've experimented most on. I've built my own boost bottle out of PVC, which is now sitting right here, as this was the original, or rather the second engine to go on the Mark IV. The original was a 50cc that's down in a box waiting for repair. But I made that boost bottle and I custom drilled that manifold for the Mark IV. I built the reserve tank so I could have 2 tanks on the back. Last time I took the Mk4-Stroke out, the entire rack separated from the frame, so I'm really glad that I didn't have a fuel tank on there then. We have, of course, lost the rear fender. The front one is held on by cable ties. Now, in the spirit of experimentation, what I really want to try doing now is replacing the front forks. Now, this is a job that I've never done. I've never been able to do because I've never had a spanner big enough to fit around there. Until yesterday, when I bought a great big one. So what I would like to do is grab the forks from the Mark I frame there, because they have suspension. So we're going to just rip that entire front end off and try and transplant it onto the Mark IV. Never done this before. I could muck it up. There's only one way to find out. Well, the first step is to jack up your bike. The second step remove the only cable remaining on it. So before resorting to percussive maintenance, make sure you remove the locking collar first. Again, this is the first time that I've done this and I wouldn't have a clue what I'm doing. I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. Alright, that's it. We have liberated a set of forks from the Mark I. Now, what we have here, more or less, is a brand new set of brakes. I rode this bike once before I broke it, so I'm hoping that I can just jam that straight onto the Mark IV. Now, I'm fairly confident that these parts are interchangeable. Alright, now we're just very carefully gonna install the handlebars down there. Alright, so the collar from the Mark IV does not fit the Mark I. This could go either way. I'm going to tell you right now, this isn't going to fit. The neck is much narrower from the mountain bike to the beach cruiser, but we're just going to jam everything on and see how we go. So the next side effect of using these forks is that, of course, this downpipe won't fit that tube. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the handlebars and try and fit the downpipe from the other bike. Alright, so it looks like it's fixed. I'm going to line this camera up one more time and we'll see if it even turns, because I haven't even tried yet. It's past the first test. I made it around the backyard. However, it is very, very stiff to turn, and obviously that collar doesn't fit. The bottom end seems to fit reasonably well, but the top not so much. Now, I've centered it as best I could. It's just very stiff on the turning. I won't really know till we take it out on the road. Unfortunately, I don't have time for that now because I've got a lynch mob waiting for dinner.